Welcome to a new episode of our podcast dedicated to regulatory affairs and life science. In today's episode, we will talk of the Biocidal Products Directive and we will present an updated guide on the actions to be taken in the fields of biocides. Professionals still search in the internet for the Biocidal Products Directive, the Directive 98/8/EC. Today, however, the European regulatory framework is Regulation EU 528/2012, the BPR. Let's see what the directive provides for, what changed with the BPR, how the topic of the Italian PMC is related to it, and which are the next steps to be compliant with. Directive 98/8/EC regulated the marketing of biocidal products in the EU, introducing a harmonized approach to the assessment of active substances and authorization of the products. The PPD provided for a 10-year revision plan of all active substances on the market before 14 May 2000, in order to identify and group those substances whose use is considered suitable for the preparation of biocides. This situation implies a transition period during which national legislations overlap with the European regulations. The directive key points are the following: positive lists of admitted active substances in Annexes 1 and 1A, technical and scientific evaluation shared at European level, adoption in the national regulations through implementing decrees. What changed with Regulation EU 528/2012? The BPR has replaced Directive 98/8/EC and it now regulates the marketing and use of biocides in the European Union. This is an essential step due to the need of developing a European legislation able to regulate adequately all those products falling into the classification of biocides, so far subject to different regulations based on the involved country. For companies, the most relevant novelties are the following: approval of the active substances and Union list. The active substances are approved at EU level with specific deadlines and conditions. The approved active substances are included in the Union list. Authorization of biocidal products. National authorization with possible mutual recognitions in sequence or in parallel, and Union authorization with a duration usually up to 10 years that can be renewed. Treated articles and double function, with obligations also for articles, materials treated with biocides, and attention to labeling specific requirements. Exclusion criteria, substitution of active substances and data sharing, with mechanisms to reduce the use of substances raising more issues and promotion of data sharing, and use of the iEuclid software with preparation management of the dossier in Euclid with technical validation. In Italy, the so-called PMCs, i presidi medico-chirurgici, medical surgical aids, are an historical category regulated at national level. With the BPR entering into force, the products with active substances approved in the EU falls into the framework of biocides. For companies, this implies a verification of the status of the active substance, the product type ET and authorization pathway that is more appropriate, so a registration as PMC, as biocidal authorization or other, a transition from the PMC regime to the biocidal regime when the active substances are approved, an alignment of labeling advertising, for instance bans of claims such as not harmful, and surveillance. Here is an operative pathway in 6 steps. First, understand the legal framework of the product and map the active substances. check the active substance, intended use and claims, check the approval status of the active substance based on the PT. Second, choose the appropriate authorization strategy. In the case of a biocidal product, a national mutual recognitions in sequence or in parallel or a union authorization. In the case of a PMC, a national registration. 3. Prepare the dossier. Draft the dossier with the iEuclid software, including efficacy, toxicological and ecotoxicological studies, risk assessments, safety data sheet, label, etc. 4. Submit the dossier to the competent authorities via the Biocidal Product Register F4BP3. 5. Post-marketing compliance. Compliant advertising, for instance, Article 72 of the BPR. 6. Governance and update. A monitoring of regulations on biocides, authorization renewals, variation management, vigilance and incident reporting. Finally, here are some frequent questions we often receive from our clients on the Biocidal Product Directive. Is the Directive 98/8/EC still effective? No. Regulation EU 528/2012 BPR currently applies. What is the difference between Biocides Directive and BPR? The directive established common principles adopted by the Member States. The BPR is directly applicable as has introduced more harmonized tools such as the Union authorization, rules on treated articles, substitution criteria, data sharing. What changes for PMCs? PMCs are a national category. When active substances are approved in the EU, the products fall into the framework of the BPR. A transition period and an authorization pathway have to be evaluated. What is the duration of a biocidal authorization? Up to 10 years, except in case of specific conditions with possible renewals. Can I advertise a biocide as safe and non-toxic? No. Advertising is regulated. Misleading claims are forbidden and specific warnings are to be stated. Contact us if you have any doubts on the Biocidal Products Directive, on PMCs or on the transition to the BPR. We will examine your product portfolio and define the authorization pathway to be followed. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you want to listen to other podcasts, sign up for our channel, follow up on social media and join us for next episode.